Good afternoon, William and Mary. I'm Kay Floyd, and this is my colleague, Mike Tierney, the handsome gentleman to my side.
Please.
Welcome to the live broadcast of William and Mary's Charter Day ceremony.
Great. Kay, before the ceremony starts today, we're going to be providing the viewers with a little background about the event and guiding everyone through the procession as special guests arrive in the at William and Mary Hall. We're coming to you this afternoon from Kaplan Arena on the William and Mary campus. And as most of you know, Kaplan Arena is the home of William and Mary Athletics, Go Tribe, and hosts a number of campus-wide ceremonies. The ceremony today is particularly special as we're celebrating the inauguration of our new president, Catherine Rowe, and the re-investiture of our 24th Chancellor, Robert M. Gates. Former Secretary of Defense, Gates is the first modern-era alumnus to be appointed as the Chancellor. In the audience today will be students, faculty, staff, alums, and friends of the university, as well as a number of honored guests.
Indeed. So, Mike, how are you feeling about Charter Day?
I'm pretty excited. Back in my day, in the mid-'80s, I don't think Charter Day was as big of a deal.
I don't remember back then, so
Okay,
sorry
yeah,
about that.
You wouldn't. You don't have the gray hair for it. But I was talking to students yesterday after class, and this has become a tradition. Was that true in your day?
Not so much. I hate to say it, although when I joined the faculty in 2011, it has become quite dear to my heart. So this is one of my favorite events. And for the alumni that are watching around the world, we hope that when you do make it back to Williamsburg, you are able to join, because this is a really special tradition that might not have existed when you were here.
Yeah. No, it's really something. I always think of commencement as the day when they do the full-on William and Mary pomp. But with the reading of the charter, I think it's even greater today. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, takes us back to our roots. Well, there's a number of sort of fun things that are going to be happening and whatnot. Of course, you can participate any number of ways on social media. We'll be looking at hashtag WM Charter Day and more. You'll see this scrolling around. There it is. That's very exciting. So we want you to reach out via whatever channel you like, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Connect back with your alma mater and also share little birthday messages and the like. And we'll give you a few additional details on a social media contest and other ways that you can participate in a minute. So the music that you're going to hear largely throughout is from the William and Mary Wind Ensemble, and that's led by Richard Marcus. If you studied under him, by all means, tweet that out as well. Later, the William and Mary Choir, led by James Armstrong, will perform, as will one of our many a cappella groups, Reveille. And I'm not sure you'll be able to tell from the television screen, but do look for their signature blue shoes. And the Wind Ensemble and Choir.
How do you know that?
Well, I pay attention to my students, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. Mike is a phenomenal professor. The Wind Ensemble and Choir are among more than a dozen ensembles at the university.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about history. As most of the listeners probably know, William and Mary was founded in 1693 by royal charter, and we're going to hear some of that today. So this is our 326th anniversary. William and Mary is the first American institution of higher education to receive a charter from the Crown, which is exciting. And you can send the university a birthday greeting on Kudo Board. I don't know what Kudo Board is, but I'm told that you're about there. That is Kudo Board. So go to that URL and you can send kudos and happy birthday wishes to William and Mary.
Oh, I love that. Thanks, Mike. Being the event's namesake, the charter plays a central role in today's ceremony. Later, you'll hear portions of the document being read aloud by current William and Mary students. That's a really special part of the ceremony. Though the original charter was lost sometime around the American Revolution, we don't have a solid date on that. Some copies do exist, and in fact, there are 4 in our archives that are periodically on display. It's known that William and Mary's first president, James Blair, brought both English and Latin versions of the charter back to the university from England, making that harrowing journey across the Atlantic. So we've got a couple of copies. One, the Andros copy, is believed to be a copy of the original. As it's named, it was believed to be in the possession of Sir Edmund Andros, who was the royal governor of the Virginia colony at the time of the school's founding. The second copy was found at William and Mary to the north, Harvard, in the early 20th century, and that was later gifted to the university. The third copy is a bound version, and the fourth copy is a slightly different translation. If those of you are Latin scholars watching, maybe you can help us out. And it's known as the Wyatt copy.
Yeah, so in preparation for this, for our debut here as commentators bringing you the live stream, we were invited to go over to the special collection section at SWEM where this stuff is stored. And I've been here for 20 years as a faculty member, and I was here before as a student, and I had never done it. And I would strongly encourage folks when they're on campus to go to SWEM and visit. It's really interesting to talk to the archivists who are there. So that's the general bit of Charter Day, but today's Charter Day is special in a couple of particular ways. I wanted to let everyone know not only is it the inauguration of our 28th president and the re-investiture of the 24th Chancellor, but to mark this special occasion, there are a number of events on campus throughout the weekend. And two that I'll highlight are right after this event. If you're in Williamsburg, there is a block party, a fire and ice block party that is just outside Kaplan Arena. So if you're not here already, I encourage you to come over right when the festivities end. Second, and I think even more interesting, tomorrow there's going to be a special conversation with our new president and with Chancellor Gates. And the topic will be the fine art of disagreement and diplomacy. And I can't think of two better people to have that conversation than the president and the chancellor. This is free and open to the public. It's at 1 p.m. tomorrow in Commonwealth Auditorium. So I assume it's first come, first serve. And so
it's going to get full.
Yeah, my recommendation would be come early if you want to be part of that conversation.
And Mike, if I can interject, when you see staff around that have on a fancy name badge, maybe gold or green, give them a shout out, give them a thank you, shake their hands, because they've just put so many tireless hours into this, into homecoming, into all the events that William & Mary does. So when you walk up to that event, please say thank you to the staff that's helped out.
I think it's particularly heavy today. I've been coming to Charter Day, on and off for 10 years now. This is probably one of the larger setups, so 4,000 people I think they're expecting. So, if you're in the audience, it's going to be fun.
And we mentioned that we're in Kaplan Hall, named for the Kaplans, who have been very supportive of scholarships here at William & Mary, of the Muscarelli, and of course of athletics. So thank you to the Kaplans. Thank you for their support. And we encourage you to do a little bit more digging about why buildings are named the way they are around campus. You'll see some with slightly different sort of banners in front now that we're expanding on that a bit.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about Charter Day pins. I didn't really know about Charter Day pins, but apparently these are all the rage now. Every year there's a different Charter Day pin, and students try to collect these. So you can get as many as 4 over the course of the time that you're here, and then you wear them on your graduation gown on the day that you leave us.
I love that. So my favorite, and I don't know what year it was this white one with the little gold around it. So if you have that same one, go ahead and send us a little tweet and let us know what your favorite Charter Day pin has been over the years, or perhaps share the entire collection that you've accrued.
Great. Looks like we got some awards today.
Yes, we do have a number of awards. The winner of the Jefferson Awards and the Monroe Prize will be recognized during today's ceremony. Stories about each of these award winners are going to be online at the address that will come up on the screen in a minute here. We also have a number of different ways you can participate online. www.wm.edu Inauguration. You're able to follow that along as well. Excellent. This is very exciting. Mike and I are learning all about technology here.
We're learning very slowly.
So there's a social media challenge as well that we're participating in. How to. I hope you guys have been paying attention to that. So you need to share a birthday inauguration or special investiture or greeting, share 2 photos, separate or together, that show different sides of your life, and take a selfie wearing your 2019 Charter Day pin. You got to get this in by the deadline, February 10th at 11:59 p.m. at contest@wm.edu. We'll also look forward to hearing our student speaker later on, Jackie Keschner, who participated in the Mason School Global Business. She's also a phenomenal poet in her own right, and I had the distinct pleasure of teaching her in the Cambridge 2016 Study Abroad. And Mike, I know you've taught a lot of students in Study Abroad as well.
I've actually only done Study Abroad once, but I want to do it again. So I took students to Galway, Ireland. So other side of the pond, just like you did.
Wonderful. We're excited to announce the processional is about to begin, so please stay tuned.
truth and courage that remain, however harsh the fates may be, as through troublous years, dear William and Mary, our country fought, so thou hast fought, and won and lived to hear thy children singing to thee now. O thou art God. country fought, so thou hast fought, and won and lived to hear thy children singing to thee now. O thou our guardian and our guide, renew our courage every hour, and keep thy spirit by our side, to aid us with its watchful power. Throughout our lives, dear William and Mary, we pledge our loyalty. Dear college now and evermore, thy children cry all hail to thee. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose frostbits and bright stars through the perilous night, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the Romans could the roads bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, save us,
Please be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Forrestel, and I am an associate professor in the Department of Psychological Sciences, and I am the chair of the Inauguration Committee. I am delighted to welcome you here today for this historic celebration. Whether you are with us here in Kaplan Hall or you are watching from afar, thank you for taking the time to join us on this momentous occasion. Each year at William & Mary, it is our tradition to gather early in February to celebrate Charter Day, the anniversary of the signing of our Royal Charter, which occurred on this day in 1693. But this year marks a special anniversary in our history. 100 years of women at William & Mary. In 1918, we admitted the first 24 women as undergraduate students. And today, more than 3 centuries after the signing of our Royal Charter and a century of coeducation, William & Mary continues to educate women and men who serve our nation and the world in exemplary ways. We certainly have a lot to be proud of. This year, during our Charter Day ceremony, we are marking 2 important milestones. The first is the re-investiture of Robert Gates, our Chancellor. Over the past 7 years in this role, Chancellor Gates has been generous with his time, frequently joining us on campus and sharing his wisdom, knowledge, and expertise. We thank Chancellor Gates for his generosity, and we look forward to his continued involvement with William & Mary as our Chancellor. The second milestone, of course, is the inauguration of Dr. Catherine Rowe as our 28th president. When President Rowe arrived on campus 7 months ago, she hit the ground running. And since then, she has worked diligently to connect with students, faculty, and staff across campus. President Rowe is an intent and reflective listener who is embracing our traditions while also encouraging us to challenge our assumptions. As a scholar and an innovator in higher education who has a deep appreciation for the liberal arts and sciences, President Rowe is the ideal person to lead William & Mary today. We are excited to continue thinking forward with her as she leads us into the next chapter of our history. As I wrap up, I just want to say that I cannot believe this day is here. It is truly surreal to see all the Inauguration Committee's ideas and planning and hard work over the past couple months come to fruition. And although there have been moments of anxiety, for example, you never know what kind of weather you're going to get in February, it has been a privilege to have the opportunity to work with such a great group of dedicated people. So now that the planning is over and the last detail is set, it's time to have some fun. So sit back and enjoy the ceremony as we continue with our Charter Day video.
Charter Day gives us pause to meditate on the principles on which this institution was founded.
The value of this great seat of learning here in Williamsburg and of others like it needs to be constantly reassessed against the background of the society in which it operates.
The college survived its difficult times. Today it stands at the forefront of higher education.
We glory in its history and traditions, but our immediate concern is with the present and the future.
We are now approaching the end of a century in which the growth of knowledge has been unparalleled.
But our fundamental purpose in this university endures.
We will have all of the techniques and the sciences and the disciplines because they will all be necessary in our security and in our advancement.
Each generation builds on what has gone before, strengthening the foundations while making its own unique, creative, and fresh contribution.
While William & Mary shall be for all time coming, it is not a static place. It grows and becomes better with each passing year because of those who came before us, those who are here today, and those who will make their mark in the future.
Well, one of the incredibly exciting things about William & Mary is that we were founded looking forward. So our charter, 1693, is launching an educational institution for all time coming. And its ambition is to embrace all new knowledge. And it's in our DNA at William & Mary to look forward.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is John Littell, and I have the honor to serve as your rector. And it is my pleasure especially to welcome you to this historic moment. Before we begin, I'd like to ask Professor Forrestal and the Inauguration Committee to stand so that we can thank them for their leadership in bringing this celebration to fruition. Thank you as well to the William & Mary Wind Ensemble and Choir and members of the Queen's Guard for your participation in today's program. This afternoon, we celebrate William & Mary's 326th birthday, the re-investiture of Robert Gates as our 24th Chancellor, and the inauguration of Dr. Catherine Rowe as William & Mary's 28th President. It's also a good thing as we go forward to thank the search committee. Maybe the last time we'll do that, but the search committee was led by Tom Watkins and Todd Stahlmatter for the board and many other participants. If you would stand and be recognized as well. I think you will find that they and the board, we chose well. We are joined today by faculty, students, and staff, as well as the family of Catherine Rowe and distinguished guests from our community, the Commonwealth, and the world. The procession of delegates was led by our close friends and partners, the Drapers Company of London and St. Andrews University. I'd like to take a moment to recognize several groups that are with us today. I ask that I call your group. Please stand to be recognized. First, our host, the Board of Visitors of William & Mary. Thank you. Delegates representing universities and colleges, learned societies, and higher education associations. Please stand. A special welcome to our William & Mary Presidents Emeriti, Paul Verkyle, Timothy Sullivan, and Taylor Reevely. Former rectors and members of the Cipher Society, please stand. The Alumni Medallion recipients for 2019, Craig Broderick, Cynthia Casson-Morton. We also are recognizing two recipients posthumously, Nancy Burgess-Gophus and Christopher Powers. Please recognize them. And lastly, the 2019 recipients of the Jefferson Awards and the Monroe Prize in Civic Leadership. Thank you. It's fitting that as the second oldest institution of higher education in the nation, as we celebrate the beginning of a new chapter, we also reflect on our renowned past. On February 8, 1693, King William and Queen Mary signed the Royal Charter to establish a college in the Virginia colony. It is our tradition to mark this occasion by inviting students to read excerpts from the Royal Charter. After the readings, Jackie Keschner of the class of 2019 will share her reflections on the Charter. Please join us.
William & Mary, by the grace of God, of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland. King and Queen, defenders of the faith, etc. To all to whom these our present letters shall come, greeting.
Forasmuch as our well-beloved and faithful subjects, constituting the General Assembly of our colony of Virginia, have had it in their minds and have proposed to themselves, to the end that the Church of Virginia may be furnished with a seminary of ministers of the gospel, and that the youth may be piously educated in good letters and manners, and that the Christian faith may be propagated amongst the Western Indians to the glory of Almighty God.
To make, found, and establish a certain place of universal study or perpetual college of divinity, philosophy, languages, and other good arts and sciences, consisting of 1 president, 6 masters or professors, and 100 scholars, more or less to be supported, maintained for all time coming.
And forasmuch as our well-beloved and trusty, the General Assembly of our colony of Virginia aforesaid, has humbly supplicated us by our well-beloved in Christ, James Blair, clerk, their agent duly constituted, that we would be pleased not only to grant our royal license, but also to extend our royal bounty and munificence towards the erection and foundation of the said college in such way and manner as to us shall seem most expedient.
And being desirous that forever hereafter there should be one such college or place of universal study, and some certain and undoubted way within said college for the rule and government of the same, and of the masters or professors and scholars and all others inhabiting and residing therein, and that the said college should subsist and remain in all time coming of our special grace.
That they may have the power to erect, found, and establish a certain place of universal study or perpetual college for divinity, philosophy, languages, and other good arts and sciences, consisting of 1 president, 6 masters or professors, and 100 scholars, more or less, graduates and non-graduates, as above said, according to the statutes and the orders of said college, to be made, appointed, and established upon the south side of the York River, on the land now in the possession of John Smith, to continue for all times coming.
And further, we will, and for us, our heirs and successors, by these presents, do grant that when the college shall be so erected, made, founded, and established, it shall be called and denominated forever the College of William and Mary in Virginia.
In testimony whereof we have caused these our letters to be made patent, witness ourselves at Westminster, the 8th day of February, in the 4th year of our reign, by writ of the Privy Seal.
A powerful, firm, and effective ruler, a pet goldfish enthusiast, a dutiful wife, an unfaithful daughter, a woman who married at 15, ruled England with considerable ability in her husband's absence, and died of smallpox at 32, a queen who lent her name to our charter at 31. When we tell the story of William and Mary, how often do we think about the story behind those names? We wear those names on our sweatshirts, we chant them during the alma mater, and we say them with a smile during our job interviews. But I, for one, don't think about Queen Mary as someone who loved garden design, or who struggled with the fact that restoring England's future meant deposing her own father. History has only snippets of her story. Most of us have even less. Yet she was one half of the reign that established the school as a perpetual college of divinity, philosophy, languages, and other good arts and sciences. When I read that sentence, I wonder what they meant to be perpetual. The buildings themselves? The disciplines? When they established a college in their name, what sort of legacy did they want to perpetuate? What sort of stories should we read between the charter's lines? This year, we're finding new ways of answering those questions. 1 century after we first admitted women to the college, we are still reflecting on our past. Yet we are inaugurating a president who asks us to think forward. A legacy is not just a story of the past. It is a story of implications for the future. It is a story comprised of stories, and it is written in the present. The people I've met at this school could form a living library. I know a singer who does death penalty research, a Milton scholar who bakes her own pie crusts, and an artist who founded a design thinking club. And what my roommate, my honors advisor, and my freshman year next door neighbor respectively have in common is their perpetual curiosity. With empathy and intelligence, they read between the lines. They bring out the best in themselves and in the people around them. And with so many amazing people around us, we will never stop learning. The future of William and Mary boils down to the future of stories and how we tell them. Where do we look for them? And what do we do once they're found? We can't tell the charter story without Queen Mary's, any more than we can tell it without yours or mine. So today, we celebrate each other, and we make sure that we all get written. Thank you so much, William and Mary, and happy Charter Day.
Great job, Jacqueline. I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, Virginia Supreme Court Justice Bill Mims. A William & Mary alumnus from the class of 1979, Justice Mims has devoted his remarkable career to serving the people of the Commonwealth. Justice Mims served for over a decade in the Virginia General Assembly. He was appointed as Virginia Attorney General in 2009 and then went to the Supreme Court in 2010. Justice Mims has been a faithful supporter of his alma mater, and we are grateful to have him with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Justice Bill Mims.
Rector Littell, thank you for that generous introduction. Tribe family, honored guests, I bring greetings from a grateful and hopeful Commonwealth. President Rowe, we are grateful that you have brought your vision, your passion, and yes, your Frisbee to the Commonwealth. Chancellor Gates, we are grateful as well that your lifetime of splendid service will continue to include your alma mater. For 326 years, the college has sent its graduates to serve the Commonwealth. We have become judges, legislators, and governors. We are also social workers, counselors, and teachers. Our lasting significance is not measured by fame or fortune. Rather, it is measured by the sincerity of our service and the depth of our care for others. The Commonwealth, and indeed the nation, is bruised today. These are troubled times in Richmond and in Washington. Yet we can gather in Williamsburg and look forward to the future with hope. While our gaze today is firmly fixed on the future and the bright promise of the Roe years, it is right and proper to look back as well for enlightenment. One of William & Mary's scholars from antiquity who served the Commonwealth and can light our path is George Wythe, beloved professor of law and classics, mentor to Thomas Jefferson and John Marshall, lawyer, judge, a gentle soul. Listen to Jefferson's praise for Wythe. No man ever left behind him a character more venerated. His virtue was of the purest tint, his integrity inflexible, and his justice exact. Devoted as he was to liberty and the natural and equal rights of man, he might truly be called the Cato of his country. Wythe was a courageous man who swam against the tide of his times. He struggled with slavery. Eventually, the arc of his moral beliefs bent toward justice as he freed his slaves and spoke forcefully against the institution. President Rowe, during your administration, may the college send forth many women and men imbued with the spirit of George Wythe to serve the Commonwealth. And one final thought. I mentioned your Frisbee. You and your husband Bruce are among the foremost practitioners of ultimate. Very important. I was intrigued to learn it is self-officiated. There are no referees. Here is a passage that President Rowe and Bruce know well from the game's official rules. Ultimate has traditionally relied upon a spirit of sportsmanship, which places the responsibility for fair play on the player Highly competitive play is encouraged, but never at the expense of the bond of mutual respect, adherence to the rules of the game, or the basic joy of play. President Rowe, please teach the entire William and Mary family these principles for life: fair play, mutual respect, and joy. We will be better for it, as will the Commonwealth. May God bless your tenure. Thank you.
And we want to win the tournament. Thank you, Justice Mims. Chancellor Gates, please join me at the podium. On September 28th, on the recommendation of President Rowe, the Board of Visitors unanimously elected Robert Gates to a second term as the 24th Chancellor of the College of William and Mary. In its resolution, the board stated, William and Mary has benefited greatly from Dr. Gates' long connection to the university, particularly so during his time as Chancellor. Given his distinguished service to the nation, extensive leadership experience, and devotion to his alma mater, Chancellor Gates is an invaluable representative of the university. Robert Gates, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Visitors and by the ancient royal charter of the College of William and Mary, I hereby declare your re-investiture as William and Mary's 24th Chancellor complete.
Thank you, Rector Littell, and congratulations to the Board of Visitors, since they had to make this whole thing up, since it hasn't been done before. Since it was announced that I had agreed to serve a second 7-year term as Chancellor, I have repeatedly been asked the same question: why would you do that? Encountering a question multiple times provides the opportunity to consider one's response, and I have. First, and most obviously, because of the wardrobe. As I said when I was invested 7 years ago, it reminds me of a unique blending of medieval academic tradition and Lady Gaga. Second, I was agreeable to staying because of the caliber of our college's leadership at all levels and my optimism about our future. The faculty, deans, Board of Visitors led by Rector Littell are all people of the highest quality and dedication to our students and to our college. During my first term, for nearly 7 years, I enjoyed a wonderful relationship with Taylor Reevely and admired his leadership. When I was approached a year or so ago about signing up for a second term, I said that my decision would depend entirely on who was chosen to succeed Taylor as president. The selection of Catherine Rowe made my decision very easy. I'm confident that Catherine will provide William & Mary not only with great leadership, but also with dedication to strengthening its ancient traditions, even as she brings sweeping energy and ideas for innovation and new achievements to the college. I'm incredibly enthusiastic about our future with Catherine as president. Not to mention that after 326 years, we were a little overdue for a woman at the helm. I can only imagine how proud Queen Mary must be as she turns to William III and says, "About time." I truly look forward to working with her during my second term, and I will do everything I can to support her. A third reason for re-enlisting is the students here. Engaging with William & Mary's students is incredibly rewarding. Their ideas, their enthusiasm, their passion for serving others is truly extraordinary. William & Mary is a university of great historical accomplishment and a university primed for even greater achievement in the future because of the students who are here today. Fourth, and finally, I wanted to continue because William & Mary gives me hope. I have worked for 8 presidents and known many politicians in both parties over nearly 5 decades. And I never met one who had a monopoly on revealed truth. At a time when our country faces deep challenges at home and abroad, we have too many leaders across the entire political spectrum whose outsized egos are coupled with undersized backbones, who think they alone have the right answers. Who think they alone have the right answers, who demonize those who think differently, and who refuse to listen and take other points of view into account. The good news for America is that even though we have a lot of work to do and enormous obstacles ahead of us, we also have the power and the means to overcome them, just as this country has overcome worse episodes in the past. It will take a willingness to make tough decisions, a clear-eyed realism to see the world as it is rather than as we would like it to be, the willingness to listen and to learn from one another, an ability to see and understand other points of view, and the wisdom to calibrate principle and compromise for the greater good of our country. These qualities comprise the history and the essence of the William & Mary experience in and out of the classroom. It was at this college that I was first exposed to such an environment. And grounded in what I learned here, I have spent a life in public service working for presidents of both of our parties. In the great and urgent endeavors that lie before us, I have no doubt that the graduates and scholars of William & Mary, this community of learning, listening, and working through issues, rooted in the original soil and the basic principles of American liberty, have a special role and a special obligation to be part of the solution as leaders, as public servants, as citizens. I'm proud and honored to continue to serve as your Chancellor as you help to write this nation's course. Thank you.
President Rowe selected simple gifts for this occasion, and the choir has certainly done it justice. Thank you. I now invite Henry Hart, Mildred and J.B. Hickman Professor of English and Humanities and Poet Laureate of Virginia, to now read a poem he wrote to commemorate the inauguration of Dr. Rowe as William & Mary's 28th president. Following the reading, we will see a video.
For this special day in our history, I decided to write a poem that says something about our long history and also about how it's changing today. As we know, history has tended to be his story, William's story, rather than Mary's story. So I try in my poem to counterbalance his story with her story. My poem is a villanelle. My creative writing students will understand the form. I chose the traditional form because villanelles developed out of songs. I wanted to write a song-like poem. You'll hear refrain lines, you'll hear a lot of rhymes. I wanted to write a song of celebration for President Rowe. I'm tempted to sing the poem since villanelle started out as songs, but somebody once told me that when I sing, I sound like Bob Dylan on a bad day. And because I have a cold, I might sound like Bob Dylan on his worst day ever. So I'll just read the poem, a villanelle for the inauguration of Catherine A. Rowe. I begin with an epigraph from Atul Gawande. All we ask is to be allowed to remain the writers of our own story. As far as presidents go, our history has been his story. Now it's time for William to move aside for Mary. It's time for our new president to write her story. Women first worked in a college laboratory a century ago. They had to be wary, since for so long our history had been his story. It's true that our heritage is full of glory. From Jefferson on, our students have been extraordinary. Now our new president will make her story. Some of our war memorials are like memento mori for when the college closed. Students joined the military, and presidents campaigned boldly to save our history. As for our first leaders who were Anglican and Tory, the college chose to divorce them, then remarry. Now it's time for our new president to make her story. The past may be a long trek through purgatory, and paradise once reached all too momentary. But this moment will last forever in our history. So let's celebrate and help the president make our story. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce me.
She is herself. What you see is what you get from her.
I'm just gonna do me.
I would describe Catherine as a force of nature. Her energy, her experience, her knowledge, and her ability to get all of us really enthusiastic about our future at William & Mary.
I know what we should do. We should bring it in.
I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna do what I do. Put it all together, ain't nothing better. I'm gonna do what I do.
This is amazing.
She always knew she wanted to be a college president, and everything that's happened to her in the last 6 months confirms those feelings.
Is it presidential, Michael? I like it. It's what the people want.
I'm gonna do.
I I don't doubt that already changes are happening. I'm sensing renewed enthusiasm, energy. I think she will have a phenomenal impact on our institution.
She wants to be the president that we want her to be, and that's a lot of pressure. But if she just keeps being the person that she is, I think she'll meet that goal each and every time.
Nice to follow that. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ayanna Thompson, 2018-2019 President of the Shakespeare Association of America, who will speak about her friend and colleague, Catherine Rowe. Professor Thompson is director of the Arizona Center for Medieval and Renaissance Studies at Arizona State University. A decorated scholar, she specializes in Renaissance drama with a focus on race and performance, and holds a doctorate in English and American Literature and Language from Harvard University. Today, she is also representing Harvard as a delegate. Please join me in welcoming Professor Thompson.
Greetings, Chancellor, Rector, delegates, alumni, faculty, students, and community members. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce you to the 28th President of William & Mary, Catherine Anandi Rowe. After receiving her BA in English and American Literature from Carleton College, President Rowe attended Harvard University for her master's and doctoral degrees. She then taught at Yale University and Bryn Mawr College. Recognizing her visionary gifts for leadership, Smith College hired her in 2014 to be provost and dean of the college, where she oversaw all academic operations for their 600 faculty members and 200 academic units. In addition to being the president of William & Mary, she was elected to be the president of the Shakespeare Association of America in 2019 and 20, and this is the professional organization we share. In short, President Rowe is a massive underachiever. While President Rowe is a gifted and awarded scholar and teacher, and while her CV is beyond impressive, I want to introduce you to Catherine, my mentor, my thought partner, my co-conspirator, my ally, my dear friend. I was fortunate that Catherine and I were elected as trustees to our professional organization at the same time, and our friendship was solidified during those years of service. First, I came to admire and love her amazing strategic abilities. Do not play chess with this woman. In fact, do not play any games with her. She loves games and she'll try to get you to play, but she always wins. And forget what you know about her ultimate Frisbee skills. She showed me pictures of herself throwing axes. I mean, actual axes. I felt like I received a master class in analyzing macro and micro structures of power, how best to deploy them, and how best to change and alter them while simultaneously getting everyone on board. And I learned that from her. Second, I was in awe of her bravery. She always adheres to her principles. During our time as trustees, there were several uncomfortable ethical issues that arose, and Catherine fearlessly took a principled stance when others were too afraid. She always does the right thing, and she creates a space in which others are encouraged and enabled and empowered to adhere to their principles as well. And finally, I love her love of adventure. No obstacle is too hard, too large, or too insurmountable. Rather, it's all a puzzle that is a pleasure to navigate. She approaches each new thing with an open sense of potential, a potential to improve, learn, and expand. And here's just one example. When Catherine was already an established senior scholar in Shakespeare studies, she was awarded a prestigious career enhancement fellowship. Many scholars use these awards to write a book or to work in an archive, but Catherine actually used it to complete graduate work in an arts school. When I learned this, I asked her if her classmates or students treated her differently since she is a famous full professor. And she laughed and said, "No, absolutely not, and I like it like that." She was there to learn and to be an equal in the classroom. And because of that stance, she came away with an entirely new knowledge base, which then informed her scholarship on Shakespeare in digital media, which in turn led to a revolution in our field. Her sense of adventure, her love of learning, and her desire to keep challenging herself are part of Catherine's DNA, and they are part of what make her so dynamic to be around. But I want to end by speaking for a minute about the most important thing that I've learned from Catherine. I started my PhD at Harvard just after Catherine finished hers, and her reputation loomed large in the discourse of the faculty and in the imagination of my fellow graduate students. Catherine Rowe got the job at Yale. In fact, I imagined that I would hate her because she sounded so smart, so driven, so focused. A loathsome combination to someone like me, a working class Black woman who had no insider knowledge of the academy and who was feeling perpetually inadequate and insecure in graduate school. But when Catherine came back to give a talk at Harvard, I encountered someone wholly unfamiliar to me, a breed of scholar, thinker, and human that I had not seen in the academy. Yes, she was smart, driven, and focused, but she was also generous, receptive, collaborative, generative, and fundamentally a good listener. It is no exaggeration to say that she modeled a way of moving through the profession that I had not experienced before, a scholar who lifts as she climbs. I can't tell you how profound and important to me her model was then and continues to be today. I learned from Catherine that we can create the profession we want it to be, one in which innovation is central, one in which collaboration is rewarded, and one in which the rising tide lifts all ships. Life, love, and work are never zero-sum games for President Rowe. Rather, she operates as if the universe is expansive, in which everyone can win, advance, and thrive. She is the perfect person to lead William and Mary in the 21st century, and it is my honor to introduce you to my friend. Now the Chancellor and Rector will present the Presidential Medallion. Thank you.
President Rowe and Chancellor Gates, please join us. The official chain of office is the President's Medallion, which was given to William and Mary by the university's 27th president, Taylor Reevely. Catherine Rowe, we now affix the symbol of your office.
Catherine Rowe, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Visitors and by the ancient royal charter of the College of William and Mary, I hereby declare your inauguration complete and we welcome you as William & Mary's 28th president.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, we need to bring it in. Good afternoon and welcome. Chancellor Gates, Rector Littell and the Board of Visitors, Justice Mims, Presidents Verkyle and Sullivan and Reevely, Professor Thompson, Professor Hart, thank you for being here. I'm humbled by your trust and grateful for the support and welcome that you all have given to my family. It is an incredible privilege to serve the Commonwealth of Virginia and William & Mary with you. Delegates and distinguished guests from around the Commonwealth, the nation, and the world, welcome to you as well. William & Mary is grateful to have such strong bonds in the ancient and universal company of scholars. Colleagues and friends, more than 4 decades of my academic life are gathered here, including mentors, co-mentors, co-teachers, those like Professor Thompson, who have been my closest intellectual partners. It's exciting to share with you all the new partners that I'm discovering at William & Mary. And looking around at Kaplan Arena, it is fitting to be joined by athletes that Bruce and I have played with and against and coached with since we were in college. We have shared a lot of universe points, muddy fields, wet cleats, and long evenings rehashing plays in a spirit of joyful and fierce competition. The post-game rehashes are especially memorable for me because you always agreed with my game plan, which is to go for the long pass at every opportunity. Remember that. I'd also like to welcome my family, my parents and siblings, my nephew and nieces. You have embraced our new William & Mary family so warmly, so wholeheartedly. My dad, brother, and sister-in-law processed among the delegates today, making this ceremony especially special for me. Danny, Bea, Bruce. My dear hearts, you have given me so much love and support, and that sustains me every day. And you know exactly what I need to hear when it's time for me to focus and get on the line and get ready for the desk. Go kill it, Mom. I'm honored by your presence all and by the warmth and strength of this gathering. In this ceremony, we celebrate a community that spans space and time, the thundering chorus gathered in this arena, singing out to so many other places and times. My theme is the power of these long connections and their future. Captured in the phrase that you've heard today that runs through William & Mary's charter 7 times, this university was founded to continue for all times coming. I invoked this phrase almost a year ago when my appointment was announced. That dedication to the future has gained a deeper meaning for me since then. How does one sustain and advance an institution for all times coming? This is a grand charge, exhilarating, sobering. We have explored it implicitly in our Thinking Forward conversations this past fall. And for those of you visiting, these were a series of generative discussions on campus and beyond about the future of knowledge-making, of work, and of service. In these university-wide discussions, we grappled in different ways with the tension between sustain and advance, tradition and innovation. The conversation at our most recent forum just a few weeks ago captured that tension at William & Mary with eloquence. A colleague from facilities management was describing the difficulty of bringing needed change to our workplaces at William & Mary, the difficulty of making them more equitable, more open to differences of perspective and experience. She explained to the room, when you harbor old ideas, you harbor old ways. Now, as a Renaissance scholar, I'm fond of old ideas. Yet I heard in our colleague's speech then an acute sense of being stuck, an urgency for change. And that urgency prompted me to think the converse thought. As we cultivate new ideas, can we cultivate new ways? That afternoon, we talked through an alternative approach. What new ideas and ways might we cultivate in our workplaces at William & Mary together? Now, it wasn't until the next day, and many of you know that I'm a second-day responder, so it wasn't until the next day that I began to rethink the underlying assumption that pits old and new always in competition, not in collaboration. The question I want to put to you now is how might new ideas revitalize old ways while also helping us to set them aside when we need to? How might old ideas illuminate new ways, test and strengthen innovative practices as they emerge? What that staff member and I were talking our way towards was a philosophy of change, not change for its own sake, but change that we cultivate with the intention to become more ourselves. This philosophy of change harks back to a period when William & Mary was founded. Before I continue, though, I need to pause and note that over the past 7 months, I have been fairly restrained with my literary examples. But I'm a literary scholar. It's Charter Day. Our mind is already in the Renaissance, so I'm not holding back anymore. The philosophy of change William & Mary is exploring now is captured gracefully in a phrase from John Milton's Paradise Lost. The moment I'm thinking of is a scene of hospitality when an angel visits Adam and Eve for dinner. Eve prepares the meal. Right, it's the 17th century. Eve prepares the meal, of course. It's not until after the fall that Adam learns to do the grocery shopping. Milton's Eve is the first human artist, the first maker. She's in her test kitchen, and she combines the fruits of the garden inventively, so that, as Milton says, taste after taste is upheld with kindliest change. That's the phrase I want to think about now with you together, kindliest change. It's a counterintuitive way to talk about transformation. For many of us, it's not easy to take change kindly, especially when we don't control it. But Eve sets the table for us to think differently. Kind in the Renaissance is a synonym for kin, our tribe. Kindly means natural, true, or innate. This dinner takes place in Eden, so everything that Eve cultivates combines locally sourced foods. Milton rates these artful yet natural transformations so highly because, as he argues, it is via transformation that we discover what we value most and can then grow towards it. For Milton's Adam and Eve, even though the cost of change is Eden, their gain is unfolding self-knowledge, and with it, the ability to improve and be redeemed. This powerful Renaissance idea of change as a process of both loss and improvement that makes one more oneself underlies the aspirations in William & Mary's charter. William & Mary was the test kitchen and startup lab for higher education before our country's founding. Its graduates went on to cultivate sibling institutions around the country, many of whose delegates are here today. The first person to receive an honorary degree here, Ben Franklin, gained it in 1756 as an inventor, a writer, and a university founder himself. For this first honorary degree, the citation reads, "The president and faculty sought a person quo nobis et juventuti virginiensi exemplum valde egregium proponamus." Renowned, celebrated, who we might declare to be a great example to us and Virginia's youth. The citation goes on to note Franklin's appointments to the Royal Academies of Science in Paris and London, and, quote, "likewise his fame and glory on account of his miraculous devised revelations in natural philosophy." Franklin, the scientist and entrepreneur, was not yet a founding father, nor was he the Franklin of his later abolitionist writings. That evolution began 2 years after his degree and expanded the scope and humanity of his thinking, making him more himself, as I imagine it. Now is the moment to reflect on the change that will make us more ourselves and make the alma mater of the nation more of the global leader that we aspire to be. The urgency to engage with change is felt across higher education, not just here. It comes from external forces that we don't control, but must engage with creatively. Globally, changing demographics and technologies set an imperative for all organizations to raise our standards of equity and inclusion, for universities to recruit the most talented staff and students and faculty in the world. With the accelerating pace of change, the human capacities that we cultivate, those of sophisticated citizens and professionals, will become our most powerful resource. So, in listening to and with William and Mary these past months, I've sought out our best recipes for transformation. What ingredients for productive change do we have locally to hand? What techniques are William and Mary faculty and staff and students and alumni brewing in our academic test kitchens? I invite you to join me in gathering recipes this spring. For now, here are 3 local approaches to change that I've seen us cultivate with great impact. First, an entrepreneurial approach of disciplined experimentation, which is also the approach of the competitive athlete and the researcher. The mindset is an appetite to take one's team right out to the edge of knowledge and then play in that ambiguous domain where neither the questions nor the answers are fully known. And the practice here is collaboration. I want to begin with an alumni example, because so many William and Mary graduates break new ground in their fields. Mike Tomlin, class of '95, 12-year head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, popularized the strategy of calling aggressive 2-point conversions in the NFL. That's an old idea that he revitalized through the use of new tools, analytics, to inform a winning strategy that other teams have since adopted. You thought I was going to give you a New England Patriots example, didn't you? William and Mary is expanding my repertoire of sports analogies. In our curriculum and in our classroom practices as well, we can cultivate and amplify such disciplined experiments. This spring, William and Mary is planning a new university-wide learning studio. This is a long-sought aspiration of many faculty and staff across the university, and it's now in the design phase. Second recipe. Faculty, staff, and students at William and Mary prize the practice of reflection on how we do what we do. Among students, ambassadors at the new Integrated Wellness Center spread the power of reflective practice as part of a holistic approach to wellness. Faculty are building systematic reflection into our curricula because we know it accelerates learning. And in scholarship, we see the fruits of historical reflection in the decade-long Lemon Project that set out to uncover the legacy of William and Mary's racial history with rigor and transparency. Through archaeology, oral histories, archival research, and more, graduate students and faculty, undergraduates, and staff are unfolding a fuller history of the enslaved persons who built and stewarded this campus for so many decades. This spring, we will select the concept design for a new memorial for the enslaved. Funds have been contributed by every living rector of William and Mary's Board of Visitors to help support the building of this memorial. And I've discovered at William & Mary a third powerful recipe for change that's been referenced several times this afternoon, and that is our openness to question our assumptions about the future of scholarship and learning and work. Who will be our students in the decades to come? They will be lifelong learners, returning to learn throughout their lives. They will be pioneers, coming to William & Mary from non-traditional paths. They will be the first in their families to go to college and to go to graduate school. Our primary obligation is to cultivate both their love of learning and their ability to understand how they can learn most effectively, because those two capacities are essential for the lifelong process of self-transformation ahead of them. Where will we learn? William & Mary leads public universities in the United States in study abroad. Students are extending their reach globally and learning through robust internship and service experiences, bringing back to campus what they learn. William & Mary is finding new partners among the business community and among our dedicated alumni to nurture these cosmopolitan journeys. What essential capacities define the liberal arts and sciences and professional education now? A faculty member's suggestion that we weave data literacy and data ethics into our core curriculum reveals how old ideas can guide new ways. The current transformations in software, robotics, and AI to a Renaissance scholar resemble technology change in the 17th century, when the new economies of cheap print, in turn, required new ethics. We have yet to develop the platform guidelines that will ensure that the values of equity, transparency, and privacy that we value in this democracy are reflected in our algorithms. It's imperative that we do so and that we engage every discipline in this work. Experiment in a disciplined way. Prize reflection. Question assumptions in company with others. These are the capacities that we seek to cultivate at William & Mary for the student who is equally equipped for the labor of learning and the labor of leading, who encounters difference with appreciative curiosity, and who delights in complexity. For the graduate who walks out through the Wren building, prepared to chart a course as a professional and as a citizen in a networked world. The urgency of this last conjunction, the urgency of this dual calling in periods of substantive transition, such as we now face, is met by a principle that I have long held and that my time at William & Mary has reinforced strongly. The power of higher education is that we play the long game. We foster lifelong relationships across differences of generations, ethnicity, politics, nationality, religion, and so much more. We quest into grand, hard problems where neither the questions nor the answers are yet fully known. And at a liberal arts and sciences university of William and Mary's size, we can connect diverse disciplines and modes of thinking in flexible ways as partners with industry and governance. We have the privilege and the obligation to plan for the long term and to do so sustainably. 326 years ago, we were founded on the impulse to try for the two-point conversion, to expand in unlikely directions, and to cultivate surprising ideas. Now, on the 100th anniversary of coeducation and 50 years after our first African American students were in residence, we celebrate each change that makes us more ourselves. Indeed, the promises of innovation, inclusion, and partnership have been hallmarks of this institution since our charter, down to the ampersand in our name. Professionals and citizens, loved of old and in all times coming, alma mater to our nation's founders and innovator for its future. William and Mary, let's go for the long pass together at every opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a joyful day. Director Littell.
Thank you, President Rowe. I think you can see that we chose wisely. The campus community has prepared gifts to welcome you as William & Mary's 28th president. On behalf of the faculty, I invite Jack Martin, Faculty Assembly President, to present a symbolic key to William & Mary. That's how old our buildings are. On behalf of the staff, I ask Ghana Smith, Staff Assembly Vice President, and Julie Sums, President of the Professional and Professional Faculty Assembly, to present a bowl carved from a downed hackberry tree in the Wren Yard. On behalf of the student body, I ask Lindsay Whitlow, Graduate Council President, and Brendan Boylan, Student Assembly President, to present a woodcut print of the Wren Building, created for this occasion by Matthew Parsiak, Class of 19, and framed with sycamore wood from the College Woods by Amy Zhang, also Class of 19. Before we conclude, I want to say a special thank you to all those who are less visible but made today's event flow as smoothly as it did. So the facility staff, the special events staff, the AV, the photographers, the signers, the law enforcement, everyone who is unseen to us but made today work. Thank you very much. Now back to my logistics role. Immediately following our ceremony, everyone here is invited to continue celebrating the inauguration at the Fire and Ice Block Party on the Compton lot outside on the north side of Kaplan Arena. Just follow the students there, there's free food. And students, If you have not yet signed the Charter Day banners and picked up your pin, you may do so as you enter the block party. After the alma mater, I ask audience members to please stay where you are until the platform party, delegates, and faculty have recessed. As we stated earlier, today is William & Mary's 326th birthday. As such, we have a tradition that one of William & Mary's myriad a cappella groups performs an arrangement of Happy Birthday. This year, we are delighted to have Revelry do the honor. Following their performance, please stand and join us for the alma mater. You'll find the lyrics printed in the final page of your program. Revelry, take it away.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, William and Mary. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the college. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, 326. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday to you, William Mary. Happy birthday to you, William Mary. Happy birthday to you. No matter how old, you'll always be in my heart. Go Tribe! Happy birthday to the college. 326 years old. Keep this charter alive, never wanna go. William and Mary, happy birthday, alma mater. We welcome Catherine Rowe. Keep this charter alive, never wanna go. Never wanna go. Welcome Catherine Rowe. Catherine Rowe, never wanna go. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Hark the students' voices swelling, strong and true and clear. Alma mater's love they're telling, ringing far and near. William and Mary, loved of old, hark upon the gale. Hear the thunder of our chorus, alma mater hail. God our Father, hear our voices, listen to our cry. Bless the college of our fathers, let her never die. William and Mary, loved of old, hark upon the gale. Hear the thunder of our chorus, alma mater hail. William and Mary, loved of old, hark upon the gale. Hear the thunder of our chorus, alma mater Beneath thy trees, within thy halls, dear college, we give praise to thee, to pledge ourselves whate'er befalls, to pledge unfailing loyalty. Our hearts are with thee, dear William and Mary, however far we stray. Our noble college, hear us now, thy children by truth.